Hello, I'm Rebecca of the Garden Gate Flower Company.
And I'm Grace of Grace Alexander Flowers.
And we've come together to create Stuart and Alexander Gather at the Garden Gate.
A podcast taking you behind the scenes of two gardens, what we've been up to, inside, outside, and out and about. Welcome to Stuart and Alexander, the podcast where we just record us having a bit of a chat about all things gardening. And going into November now, it's all starting to get a bit Christmassy.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
Becca, how is the run up to Christmas looking for you?
It's just got a little bit busier. I've just taken a call from the lovely clients that I've got, The Story of Emily, which we spoke about last week, and they want to add some extra oomph, which is always lovely, and it's always lovely and always a bit of a panic.
Do you think we're past minimalist Christmases now? Do you think we take Christmases, it's the time to just go a bit wild?
Well, do you know what? It's really funny because I think because I've got to get so organised, I do have a minor operation in December, and because I planned it for my downtime, but I do feel like that has brought my Christmas prep forward. So I'm like in real prep Christmas mode, and it's hilarious really because I never normally feel massively Christmassy, I will say, because it's always about other people. I don't know about you, but because you are in that industry, I always feel like I'm doing all this stuff for other people. But the one thing I will say, the dried flower garlanding, like I said, I was talking to you about last week, I'm so regretting not having some for my own house, which I can't because everything's going to go to a client. But next year, I'm definitely going to grow some that I can have my own. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say I can feel it does. We haven't had much light in the last week. Have you? It's been dull.
No.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, it's been the most beautiful, misty mornings here. A bit damp, not great with that, but some of the mornings have been so utterly beautiful. I'm about to share a video on my Instagram, which is of us driving along the top of the Black Downs, and the beaches have just turned. And the colour and the mist and my days. Yeah, beautiful.
I saw somebody, I can't remember who it was, so sorry if it was you, but somebody mentioned on their Instagram, is October the new September? And I know obviously we're now in November, so sorry, I know we're 7 days into November, but I get it. I don't know about you, but the colour has been really late here, the change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's October the new September or is September the new October?
Well, I was forgetting that we're actually in November. That's how bad my brain is.
Yeah, okay.
So that kind of didn't work. But you can cut this out if you like, but it makes sense still. Maybe November is the new October. We've gone back.
Yes.
We've got back a month. So it's fine.
Yeah. The colours haven't changed, which was an absolute nightmare because I'm going to be sharing about my weekend. Last time we spoke, I was just putting the bridal bouquet together for the wedding that happened last weekend. And I was expecting there to be incredible autumnal foliage, and actually it's still very green around here.
Yeah.
The garden's still growing. I've still got lots of stuff coming up. I've got seeds germinating everywhere at the moment. So, yeah.
Do you know what I found in my greenhouse, the shed part of my greenhouse, because I did a bit of a clear up yesterday? Or was it this morning? I did go out this morning in my pyjamas at 7:30. It was this morning. It could have been yesterday, but it was this morning. And I found a bag of Cafe Dahlia tubers that I didn't bother planting because they were tiny and whatever sort of thing. I got to the end of them, I couldn't be bothered. One's sprouting. It's sprouting. It's got green shoots on it. What's it doing?
What are you going to do?
I just left it to the side. I didn't have the heart to do anything. I just left it to the side, went in and put some toast on the Arga.
Those are the decisions that as a gardener, those are what keep me from actually achieving anything because I'm too busy just trying to save one tiny little seed.
I know.
And actually the rest of the place is covered in bindweed and go to rack and ruin because I'm completely focused on that one thing. But anyway.
Well, shall I tell you what my out is? Because that actually does lead me on to why I was in the...
Yeah, go on then.
So it leads me on to why I was in the greenhouse at 7:30 this morning was because the day before yesterday, I have been pricking everything out. I think we talked about last week that I was going to talk about bulbs, but does anybody notice how mild it is? Do you know, it's so mild. I just had a moment going, do you know what, Becca? Not a job for right now. Let's shelve that idea. Let's do the pricking out instead. So it is at the moment all about a transitional list of jobs that you do have to slightly go, this could wait another week or this could be done now. I'm sorry, you're not going to hear me talk about bulb. but I have actually pricked out an obscene amount of Antirrhinum apple blossom. So
Ooh, lovely.
any of my brides that are listening to this for next year, that is going to feature very heavily. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I think I have 120 plants, plug plants.
Oh, lovely.
But they're just such a winner. They germinate. I don't know whether anybody's ordered Antirrhinum seeds, but they come, and unless they're apple blossom, there's like 6 which you can barely see in your hand. So I'm talking about Admiral Whites or those sort of really fancy ones. But you go for the apple blossom, and there is a lot of seed, and the germination rate was bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And I think I'm getting more long-sighted. So what I did was I had a cell tray, and I put a pinch. But it was I thought I was probably putting 2 in, as it turns out. I think I must have put like 20 in each of the cells. So I've actually now taken the cells out and split them and divided them. And honestly, Grace, I'm giving a whole load to Emily at 3 Acre because I've grown so many. I'm like, do you need any Antirrhinums? So she's mopping up on some of my seedlings.
Well, just going back a step to bulbs and not talking about bulbs. If you're not going to talk about bulbs, and I was expecting you to, I'm going to nab your bulbs and say, no, this is just something that has just come to me because I've been thinking about it. If you want paper whites for Christmas, now, you must now go and get yourself some paper whites and put them in a lovely, beautiful bowl for the Christmas table, because I always time it a little bit wrong. And I think if I do it this weekend, I think I might have got it just.
Oh, you're going to annoy me now because I sort of like decided not to do them this year for the Christmas table. I'm already regretting it now. I did them last year.
Is it because you don't like the smell?
No, I love the smell. Maz hated the smell. That was my old business partner. No, she hated the smell. I really like it. But what I will say is I did them. The best thing to do with paper whites is actually to do them every 2 weeks from about now. And then you guarantee them.
Yeah.
But then you need a lot.
I know. That is such a good tip.
Yeah, you do need to. So what I would say, don't plant them all. Plant a few and then in 2 weeks' time, do another few. That's how we do it. And then you will get them. And I honestly, I have to say, last year, I was taking in planters. And also what's really good is I was just leaving them even when they're out. If you leave them in the cold and they're out, they will last a lot longer. So I was bringing a planter in, letting them do their thing, taking the planter out and bringing the new one in. And honestly, Grace, I had continuous. I'm now thinking, what else did I think it was a bad idea to not have any? What was I thinking? Oh dear. I'm writing it down now. I'm literally getting a piece of paper as we speak. Buy paper whites. Okay.
Are you going for your standard paper whites or Ziva, or what you fancy?
I'm going standard. Let's just go. You can't go wrong. Look, that's me writing my list. Can you hear it?
Russell. Oh my God, that was
sorry,
that
was loud. There you go.
Yeah, that's my out. I know that's a bit dark because it's an in thing because I'm going to do paper whites for the house, but I've got a different in, so I've nabbed your bulb out. So yeah.
So when you do them, do you do moss and do you do your twigs and all that sort of thing?
Yes. Grits. Now you've said that about getting quite a few in, I'm now going to have to find a few extra containers, but I do have some really beautiful bowls. And I do think, so some of my bowls are really lovely ceramic bowls. I've got some lovely bread bowls, dough bowls, but I'm nervous about putting water in them, so I will line them, I think, with just a little something. And then either bulb compost, which has got a bit of charcoal in, must be careful with your watering because my bowls don't have holes in the bottom. Or sometimes I've got some beautiful hurricane lanterns, which I might just put a layer of grit in the bottom. And they obviously have the benefit if they're so much taller and they stop them flopping everywhere. But I think lots of twigs in there looks amazing anyway. So I think the twigs are great. And of course, there's always the watering with vodka thing, which,
what
stops them.
Watering with vodka?
Do you not know the watering with vodka trick?
Never heard of it.
So the reason that they go straight up and then they fall over is they just get too tall for themselves. And if you can stunt their growth slightly, you get the same amazing flowers, but on much stronger stems. So once they've started growing and they're about halfway up, if you give them a little water with 1 part vodka to 7 parts water and just water them with that, they will stunt the growth a little bit.
No. I could have done with that because mine were very floppy and very tall.
Yes. So it works best if you've got them in grit. So you obviously when you put them in grit, oh, this turns a bit of a tutorial.
Yeah.
If you put them in grit and then you water them, you must not water them so that the line of the water goes over the plate at the bottom of the bulb.
Yeah.
But what you can do is if you leave it for a little while whilst they start growing and then the water goes down a bit and then you just top it up with that bit of vodka in it, once they're on their growing journey, it will absolutely make them very upright. And unlike human beings, it won't make them fall over.
Just because I'm a gin drinker, what's the difference between gin and vodka?
I imagine if you've got some cheap gin that you don't mind donating to the cause, I'm sure gin will work just as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm in. I'm going to try it. I've done them in like lovely sort of old bread bowls and things like that. No, pudding bowls. Sorry, not bread. You said bread. The pudding. I found last year the ones that were just brilliant were, because I left them in the greenhouse, I put them in terracotta pots. I just did terracotta pots and bought them in and put them on a really pretty saucer and had them in the house on the kitchen table. And that way it is like outside in without it being too in. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I write a lot about Christmas, about the boundaries of inside and outside, really in a really counterintuitive way, given that the weather and the change is that real blurring of, we bring a tree inside, like if that's mad, and we fill our houses with all this incredible foliage and then we put lights outside. It's just this weird ins and outs get very mixed up around Christmas.
They do.
So I think it's a lovely idea to bring a pot with some beautiful flowers in.
Oh, that sounds really good. So what have you been doing? So that's your in and that was my out.
I was cheating actually because I've made that my out because although it's an in, I've got an in.
You tell me your in.
It's Christmas themed.
Go on then.
So if you've been anywhere in my spaces over the last few years, you'll know that I'm utterly obsessed by Nigel Slater's Christmas Chronicles. And I published a Christmas book 2 years ago and I've just been revamping it and just doing some additions for it for this Christmas. And I suddenly thought, do you know what? I'm going to do an audiobook to go with it.
Oh, nice.
So inspired by this podcast, because I love doing this podcast, and it has made me, as per our conversations about accessibility and all that sort of stuff, I have been recording so much more of my writing. And so I thought, I'm going to record my Christmas book. So that's what I've been doing this week.
Well, I love
I've been
that.
settling down in front of my microphone and recording the Gather Christmas book.
Oh, I think that's just lovely. I'm going to definitely have a look at that when you get it out. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. My in is all about wool blankets. So we did socks, didn't we? We've done socks.
We did.
By the way, the socks have arrived. I can report back my socks are absolutely stunning. And I would tell you just quickly, I went for an orange pair with green, just like a green lip at the top, which just looked fab with my Birkenstock, my leather Birkenstocks, just because I like that. I like a flash of colour. And then the other two are oatmeal ones, which are much more sensible, with, again, a little trim at the top. I think one is a mustard. Oh, that's it. One's a mustard trim at the top, and the other one is a forest green. I'm really into green at the moment, very green.
I did think of you yesterday because this is a very first world problem, and I know the world's on fire and everything, but the clutch went in the Land Rover, which had to drop the Land Rover off at the mechanic, which is quite some distance away. And then I had a phone call from my boss saying, we've got a newborn baby coming from hospital. I need you here. You need to come and receive this family. And I was like, my husband had the car. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I walked from my house to the house where I needed to be to receive said baby. And it's 4 miles. And I did it in just under an hour to be there in time.
Wow.
But I was not wearing the right socks. I had to do it in wellies because it's very much cross country. And I've got some new wellies because I've split. Annually, I split my wellies across the foot, across the arch of my foot. Doesn't matter what Wellingtons I buy, I split them. Don't bother telling me if you've got a pair of unsplittable Wellingtons, they won't be for me. So I've just resigned myself that I need to buy a new set every autumn.
Yeah.
So I did it in my new Wellingtons in not the right socks. Yeah.
You've got to have those
and
Cornwalls.
I thought, I should have listened.
So for the Wellingtons, these socks would not be right. You've got to have the Cornwall.
I've got the Cornwalls.
I will send you that. You can go back and have a look at listen to your show notes. But I will say I have gone from socks to wool blankets. Now, okay, my reason for doing this is if you need to give your house a bit of a lift, a room a bit of a lift, especially at Christmas, and I feel like this is our Christmas special. I'm telling you things that we really shouldn't be talking about. And this is
we've
bad.
got another fortnight till our
I
Christmas
know,
special.
I know. Anyway, we can just repeat it. Everyone will have forgotten it by then. But if you want to lift a room, redecorating costs, as we know, loads of money. But a blanket can just transform a room, okay? A blanket, a cushion, whatever. But, a blanket on the end of a bed in a lovely, whatever, check, plaid, whatever it is you like. In my sitting room, I've got a really lovely English wool sofa. I've had it for years when Dad was working in the furnishing business, and I thought, oh, that's a good time to buy it at cost. And I love it. But to tell you what started to happen is the arms have started to slightly wear. It's wool, so they started to go. So I was looking for nice wool blankets that you can just throw over the arms, just so that it provides a little bit of protection, because I do not want to replace this sofa ever in my lifetime. And the wool company, they are near me in Bodmin, actually. They started off in Cardigan, but they've now got a bigger premises in, I think it's Bodmin. Yeah, it is Bodmin. They do sheepskins and they do wool blankets. And do you know what I found? A knee blanket. So they're smaller. They're smaller, so they're not as big. So they're perfect for going over the arms of a sofa, aka lifting and dressing, or covering patches and holes. And grab them and just cover your little legs before you want to put the fire on. I'm just in my element. I've got two.
I mean, it's hilarious. It does sound like the sort of thing that somebody who is 85
I love
would
it.
have.
I know, a knee blanket. I'm 85. I am 85, really. That's the thing in my life. I always say that I'm older than I actually am. Maybe not 85, but you wait. Also, I will say, this wool blanket, which is a knee blanket, when it arrived and I took it out, I was like, this is a stole. This, literally, you could wear this around you in your landy, cover you.
Yes.
You, honestly, we're going to put a link in the show notes for you to see it. So I got it in the colour, which when you see it, I reckon the first thing you will say is traditional mulberry handbag lining. Do you remember that colour, the check they used to use in mulberry handbags?
Do I?
It's like
I do. What colour is it?
Rust and green. I remember going once to London and going to the mulberry shop. I'm sure it was on Regent Street or somewhere like that. And going in and they had the mulberry check on a footstool in a wool finish. And I remember just thinking I'd died and gone to heaven. It just was amazing. So basically, I've got that now on my armrests.
Amazing.
So there we are.
Amazing.
There we are.
I have only just resisted doing a sort of a nesting hibernation in this week, but I'm having a big sort out this weekend. I've got a week more at work and then I've got a week off, which I've had in my diary for about 6 months, which is just going to be a sorting before Christmas, just getting loads of beds ready in the garden because we're moving into the garden next door, but also just sorting the house out a bit. So I was saving up my nesting in
for next week.
But by then I might be telling you about all the knee blankets that I've bought.
Honestly, you would love these. You really would. So what have you been doing? Oh God, what have you been doing out? Can't bear it anymore. It just makes me realise how boring my life is for your outs, do.
Well, I can't remember. Did we do?
Oh my goodness.
Have I
done the, you know what, and this one, Becca, or that one? Or shall I say?
No, so I had.
Can we tone it down for the audience, please, Grace?
We'll tone it down for the audience.
Me,
As I said,
actually.
last time I spoke, we were just getting ready I was driving up to Surrey for a wedding.
That's right.
A family wedding, which was absolutely stunning. It was lovely. So it was in a medieval feasting barn called Ramster, which is in the most beautiful area of Surrey. It's not an area I know very well. In a village called Chiddingfold. There was lots of incredibly beautiful, very old houses. The flowers, I loved the flowers, actually. I think it's the favourite flowers I've ever done. I'm not usually one for saying I really like that. I'm always hypercritical about things. But these ones, I loved them. And as they walked up the aisle, I was like, oh my God, those flowers look amazing. It all came together. So the ceremony was lovely. The canapes were to die for. It was the best food I've ever had at a wedding, ever. And beautiful meal and lots of family catching up and stuff. And we got to about, I do hope the bride and groom aren't listening to this, but anyway, we got to about 8:30 and we still had quite a lot of wedding to go because it started at 12:30 and I'd been up worrying about buttonholes since 5. And my husband and I just said, should we go and see the bonfire? Because as we'd driven through the village, there were these signs up saying, we're going to close the road through the village which is the way we were going to get home, because they had the biggest bonfire I have ever seen on the village green. It was ginormous. We said, oh, should we just go? So we were completely overdressed, full frock and suit and everything. And we managed to get quite close to the village and throw the car off the verge. It was awful. It was so packed. There were so many people. And just as we arrived, we were like, gosh, this bonfire is amazing. It's lovely. And we were just debating a glass of mulled wine or something.
Oh.
And the fireworks started. And they were the biggest fireworks I've ever seen in a village. And I've been to the Plymouth Fireworks Championships, which are huge. It was just insane. And we were just stood there thinking, we turned up here completely by accident in the middle of a Surrey village, and we're just being treated to, it was like Sydney Harbour Bridge type stuff. It was just
funny, how strange.
Amazing. So that was just, it was such a lovely, magical, like we...
And it was dry, wasn't it? It was dry too.
It was dry.
Yeah.
It was just cold enough to be lovely, but not so cold that
Just
you felt
to get
uncomfortable.
home, yeah.
Yeah, and it just feels like life has been really busy recently for both of us. And it was one of those just, I don't know, really nice.
Resets, isn't it? It's just a really nice, yeah.
It just worked. It felt like the universe was a bit like, oh, you're here now, so we can start. It was just really lovely.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And then my brother had booked into the same hotel as us. So we went back and I had a glass of pink fizz and the boys had pints, and we just had a really nice sort of
I love a good wedding
end
like
of
that.
the day.
I mean, I go to lots
catch
of
up.
weddings, obviously, but I don't get to stay at them. But a really good wedding that ends with Bonfire sneaking out too. But that sounds great. She wouldn't have needed to have bonfire and fireworks. She could have just gone down to the village green by the sound of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So-
Although I think actually there were fireworks from the next village that they borrowed them, I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, I was wondering what you feel about this, because I did feel by about 3:00, I felt like the most massive adrenaline crash ever after doing the flowers. So I'd be surprised if you could manage to go all to the weddings that you flower.
No, I'm definitely a morning person. And as I've got older, I've got more of a morning person. So I find that even if I do styled shoots and things like that with lovely John, who's my photographer friend, I'm really good in the mornings. But by the time I eat lunch, even if I don't eat too much, the afternoons do seem to start dipping for me, especially in winter. It was bad enough in summer, let alone in winter. But I think it's such an emotional build-up to getting a wedding done. I will say I'm doing it more regularly than obviously you've been doing it. But I still think there's an element when you finish where you just go, oh goodness, that's great. And then unfortunately, I don't know whether you didn't maybe have it so much because you were there seeing it. I do quite often. And again, this is something I think this develops with age. I do have this moment. I used to be absolutely fine. I used to deliver the flowers, happy, great, lovely, done, tick, gone. Now I sit in the afternoon going, oh gosh, I hope it's all right. Gosh, look at the weather. Is that all right? And then the next day I'm like, gosh, I haven't heard from them on a Sunday. Of course I haven't heard from them on a Sunday. They're having their day after. And there's a slight anxiety of, did they like it? Did they like what was in the reception? So I think that's age. That does happen to women as they get older.
I can really remember the first proper big wedding I did, and it was down Tavistock way. And I remember doing the delivery and then driving home and just sitting there thinking, will I ever know if they liked it? And actually the groom of all people texted me or messaged me on Instagram and said, oh my God, it was just so amazing. And I was like, but yeah, there was a definite, oh, thank God I can relax now. And it wasn't the delivering of the flowers, it was the getting the message back from the couple saying that they'd like them. Yeah.
I've got a few venues where they're much more at the venue. So quite often they will see the room, or I'll take a photo or a video and I'll show them. But some of the locations, especially if it's a marquee wedding, you've got no hope in hell of the couple seeing the marquee before you walk away. But yeah, I will just say to any clients out there that have booked, if any brides are listening, whether they're my brides or anyone's, maybe just message the florist on Monday that you loved it, because it is a little part of our work. Do you know, it's a little artistic to,
saying that when I was a bride.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think I could string a sentence together for about 4 days after our wedding.
Fair enough.
I just had to lie down with
a room
duvet over my head. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. But most people do message. Some people don't, and you don't hear from them, and it's a transactional thing and it's done. And like you said, they've moved on, and others do. But yeah, I do think there's definitely a bit of a sugar dip exhaustion thing, and then you have to wait for your second wave in the evening. But mine doesn't really come so much until Sunday.
Yeah.
Mine's basically definitely from about sort of 1 o'clock in the afternoon till the following morning now. But yeah, it is quite full on. My out,
Yes.
hilariously,
Out.
my out reminds me of one of our first podcasts when you said you had a village meeting, I think. I can't remember which podcast.
Parish council meeting.
Parish council meeting, yeah. Mine was, I was invited to go to the Dobbles Gardening Club to talk to them about floristry and gardening, growing my own flowers and doing a little demo, which I have to say, I have not done this sort of thing for absolutely years. There was a time that Maz and I used to be invited to all the gardening clubs and things like that. And then life gets very busy and I think people have probably exhausted it. Do you know what I mean? But lovely Becky, who I mention quite a lot, like we mentioned Britt, is part of this gardening club. And she booked me months and months and months ago when I went, yeah, no, fine, Becky, it's all right. And then I realised, oh my goodness, this is winter. This is winter and it's an evening. Grace, I didn't get home till 9:30 in the evening. But you know, I found my people. They were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant.
Oh,
they
wonderful.
are. I think I must have lowered the average age by about sort of 20 years. But they were absolutely fantastic. I was a bit nervous because I was like, you have to stand. Those things are quite nerve-wracking. You have to stand at the front.
Yeah.
They all sit in front of you. And, you know, everyone's still got their coats on because the church, church rooms are going to be a bit cold. Actually, this one was very pleasant indeed. But there's an element of, you're just like, oh gosh, are they going to like it? So I took what was, honestly, it's like the last few buckets of flowers from the field. And I had lots of questions once I probably paused to let them get a question in. Because, you know, when you're nervous, you just talk. Then also at the end of it all, I showed them how to wrap up a gift bouquet, which they loved.
Harder than it looks and a very good life skill to have.
As I say to everyone, you have to take the flowers by surprise with the paper. Just do it. But also, I had to judge the flower. I had apparently once a month, everybody anonymously brings a bloom in a vase, and the person that, like myself, who they've got as a guest, has to judge. I know this was just literally. I've honestly. I have found my calling. I loved it. If Royal Cornwall or any flower society is out there and wants me to be a judge, I'm in. I am in.
Did you have the rule book?
No, I had no rule, but I did actually say, so what are the rules? Do I have to? Apparently there are no rules, which is even better because Becca hates rules. There were no rules. It was basically, which one did you like the most for yourself, as in which were you drawn to the most? So I know. I'm going to be put on the spot now to remember what they all were. But there was a real mix. And actually, it's quite interesting because you'd think there wouldn't be much out there, but there was a rose, there was a teasel, a flowering teasel. It was amazing, flowering teasel. I know. Yellow. I'm not entirely sure what it was. A nerine. I think there was a sort of other nerine. Oh no, it wasn't. I think it was a crocosmia actually. I think it was a crocosmia. And then there was the potato. What's the potato flower called again? I can't remember the potato flower.
Selenium?
Okay, thank you. White. I actually chose that because what I suddenly realised, why do I not grow white potato vine? It's tough as anything. And the flower is so pretty. With my first garden, I had a purple one. And I just remember this thing taking off on the side of this huge Victorian house. And then this one obviously is white, which I thought was much more sophisticated. This is lovely. So I think I'm going to get one. So he's inspired me.
They are beautiful. They are Solanum. Solanum is what they are. There is one, number one church cottages, who is next door to me, has got one across the back of their cottage and it has just made its way over the fence. I've got one perfect flower just next to my back door.
Oh, they are really nice and it feels quite tough. I don't know whether the petals would drop, but I just thought it's another tough vine. We all need vines in floristry.
I did eye it and think that could go in the bride's bouquet, but I wasn't quite
brave enough
to just chop it off.
Yeah, that inspired me. So that came first. I think it's the crocosmia, I think it came second. It was a reddy colour. It just looked really pretty and I just thought it was quite festive. And thirdly was the nerine. And then I felt terrible for the others I didn't pick. So I felt very guilty. I know, that's the part I didn't like so much. And then I had to draw the first raffle prize.
Because you're like their celeb.
I was not, it wasn't that I wasn't looking forward to it, but there are things like Netflix and a cup of tea or a glass of wine and my pyjamas, as we know, that I like to do in the evenings. So going out in the dark for a talk, once I was there, I loved it. Going out was a bit of a, but I really enjoyed it. So I don't think they listen to this. I don't think they would listen. But
You didn't plug it on the day. You should have plugged it.
I didn't think about it really. I was so
Oh.
in it. Anyway, I've heard all about how to grow potatoes really well. So I feel like I've learned. It just goes to show, doesn't it? You're always learning. I've always got
Yes.
something that another gardener will teach you. You know?
Yes. Oh, you never know it all, do you?
No. Oh, and can I just tell you, I have another little other unexpected
yeah.
out. My other unexpected out was I went to Bodmin Herb to get loads of compost, which is my lovely garden centre nearby. I absolutely love them now. They're brilliant. And they had their Christmas trees. And I had just bought a Cornish fir Christmas tree. Wasn't intending to.
What?
No. You wait. They had pine cones on it. It had actual pine cones on it.
Beautiful.
So much to disgust of my children, who the youngest one did notice there was a Christmas tree and he couldn't believe that I'd done it without him. To which I did say, don't worry, this is a business one. This is going to be part of my Christmas styling. He's like, I'm only joking, Mum. It's all right. Don't worry. It's a lovely little Cornish pine. It's got little white sort of tips to the. It's just divine. I couldn't walk past and not get it. I was so worried. And Mark, who runs it, said, the pine cones will drop off. And I was like, Mark, don't say that. I just
wire them back on.
I would simply wire them back on. They look
a bit of a glue gun.
Yes, exactly. This is exactly it. But at the moment, it's in a pot outside my front doorstep. So that's what I said to you. Christmas is it's very un-Becca. Very un-Becca. I
think we're just going to embrace it.
Yeah.
If anyone has got any other better ideas about things that could make us happy right now, with everything that's going on, I'm here for it. Tell me.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go for trying to do good work in my community and Christmas.
I know.
That's my contribution to political unrest.
Oh, totally.
Christmas.
Totally. Just be nice. Be nice. Do nice things. And it will come back to you. Nice things come back to you. Listen, Grace, I've got to go downstairs and I'm going to now go and make some orange sliced garlands.
Oh,
I know it is.
You've inspired me. I'm going to go and put some lemons in the bottom oven of my Everhot, and then I'm going to go out for a dog walk before it gets too dark.
It is getting dark, and I did talk about this, but I do think orange slices. I'm going to do some of those, and I'm going to do some dried pine cone. And you're going to send me those beautiful teasels we were talking about.
I'm going to send you some teasels.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And you're going to buy some paper whites.
And
what
goodness,
a to-do list we've got.
I have literally got that on my list. Literally sat next to me. Going to do that. It's lovely chatting to you.
Yeah,
I hope it makes everyone feel a little bit more festive. And we'll ease off a little bit. We are 7th of November, but anyway, it's all right. The build-up's the best bit.
The build-up is the best bit.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You take care. Lovely to chat.
You too. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.